2, 1. We're live. All right. I'm live with Tony McGowan, Hope Springs. I will let you take the reins here.
All right. Well, Brandon, I just really appreciate you having me come.
Absolutely. I'm very excited about this.
It's going to be a good opportunity for me to just, especially because it's February and February is Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was, a good time to just come and maybe share some statistics with you and be able to talk to your audience and just let them know like what services are available in our community and what people can do to get help and kind of just let you know what some cool things are. And then, of course, I would also love to talk about Hope Springs too and just let people know that we're out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, you kind of mentioned when you came in, I actually didn't know this, but that it was Teen Dating Awareness Month. I had no idea of that. And so, like, I guess what all does that entail? Is it?
Well, I can tell you a little bit about what we're doing in the community, but first, do you mind if I share some statistics with you?
No, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month is important because there are a lot of teens who are affected by domestic violence or by dating violence. It says on my sheet that I brought here, I'm just going to share just a couple things. Sure. Nearly 1.5 million high school students nationwide experience physical abuse from a dating partner in a single year. That's a lot of people. Yeah. It says girls and young women between the ages of 16 and 24 experience the highest rate of intimate partner violence. It's almost triple the national average. So that age group is just an age group that the teen dating violence is very high as compared to other ages, like older ages. Yeah,
I wonder due to like hormones or I mean that's shocking that
there's probably a lot of things that are involved in that. Just kids are especially students are young and there's not a lot of education. Maybe it's out there, hormones, a lot of things that go along with that, immaturity. Yeah, some of those kinds of things as well. But there are some long-lasting effects. Violent relationships in adolescence can have serious ramifications, including substance abuse, eating disorders, just risky behavior, more future domestic violence. So it's very important to get a hold of these kids when they're young and just try to teach them so that they can make the right choices for their future so that it doesn't affect their future in a negative way.
Yeah, and I think getting all the information that you can out is very important. It's part of the reason why I was so excited to do this.
Yeah. One of the really cool things that's actually going on today at Attica High School is, and it's been going on throughout Warren and Fountain County, is wear your heart on your sleeve at the high schools. And so I brought some hearts. Okay. Here's our hearts. Pow. I'm going to let you pick a heart because you're...
Oh, I get to do this?
Yeah, you and I are both going to put one on our sleeve.
I'm stoked about this. Today. Yeah.
But... I want to tell you a little bit about another agency, just real quick. Yeah. So Hope Springs, we are the domestic violence shelter in town. Mm-hmm. There's also another agency.
Might pull that mic a little bit closer.
And there's also another agency through Valley Oaks Health called Beyond the Violence, and we work in tandem with them. So Hope Springs provides shelter to victims of domestic violence, and Beyond the Violence program provides non-residential services and education. And so they are out in the schools, and every freshman in Warren and Fountain County in health class learns about healthy relationships through Beyond the Violence program. And they also do really cool things like wear your heart on your sleeve. So like right now they're going to the schools. They've got students that are wearing these, it's like a poster in the front and a poster in the back. What's that called? You wear it over, it's got like, I don't know what those things are called, but it's like a shield that they're wearing on the front and a shield on the back, and it has information. It has a lot of statistics in there about dating violence. So they're walking around with these neon posters on their bodies. Okay. And then the students are also helping the Beyond the Violence crew to hand out these hearts to faculty and to students. And it's just to get that information out there so students are aware of it. They know that dating violence is an issue, and they can get that information. They can learn the warning signs. They can learn where they can go to get help. And it's just kind of a cool thing to try to raise awareness. So do you have a heart that you would prefer?
Yeah, I do. I want to rock this one right here. I saw this as soon as I spotted it. I knew that was mine. Okay. Yeah, that thing. It kind of looks like the new AT&T symbol.
All right, I'm going to pick one too. I think I want this purple one because
that was my second choice.
Yeah, and purple is also the color that represents domestic violence.
Yeah, I knew that actually. That was one thing I did know.
So let's show our shoulders.
Nice. I got it. I got this cool ribbon.
We're representing today. So they're in the schools right now doing that. Attica High School is doing that today. A couple other things that they do with teenagers. They have a Purple Pinky project that they go in and they talk to all graduating seniors. So they're going to be doing that in April here. So in about 2 months. And they just talk to them. They talk to the girls, they talk to the guys about how to be safe when you're in college, how to make wise choices in college, what's appropriate in a relationship in college, how to, making sure that you get consent before you do anything sexual in college. And it's just getting that information out there. And they have different trainers that come as well, that come and help them to present that information. And they even have a little bit of self-defense that goes kind of along with that.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And then they give out purple fingernail polish. And then if you paint your pinky purple, then that's letting everybody know that you're well aware. And,
nice.
You've got that information. So there's just some kind of cool things that just go on in our community that people might not know.
Yeah.
But I think it's important for young people to know what the warning signs are when they get in these relationships. Kids are getting relationships at such young ages. And a lot of times if students grew up in homes where they're witnessing domestic violence, they don't know when something happens in their own relationship, they don't know that if maybe that might be wrong.
Right. That makes sense.
Because it just seems normal to them. Right. It seems natural. And so that's why it's important to get out into that freshman, that age group, and to let them know these are the things that you need to be looking for. And just to kind of help them be aware, because if things start to happen, it doesn't happen right away when you get into a relationship. It's all,
right.
Oh, he's so charming and she's so wonderful. And, they get together and things are really good for a while. But then as the relationship progresses, then there's going to be these red flags that are going to start showing up.
Yeah. I've had a few girlfriends actually that have been in surprise, like an alarmingly an amount of very abusive relationships. And it's always a tough thing to talk about, but I really do try to learn and so you can sympathize with them. And I think that that's very important. But one thing that seems to be a pretty common factor is it's like such a state of mania of like the highs are really high and the lows are really low. And they just wait for that next, like everything's going to be better moment. Mm-hmm. And it's heartbreaking, and I'm sure going through that, it's got to be devastating on a person as far as their mental health and, obviously, physical health as well. But when you're in that moment with someone that you genuinely care about or genuinely love, and you're dealing through those lows and waiting for, kind of the next rise. Yeah, it seems like it would be such a tough thing to break. And just like kind of everyone says that, he'll change, right. And it's really sad to see that. And yeah.
Well, that's why they call it, you said it's a tough thing to break, and that's why they call it a cycle. It's like to break the cycle. There is a cycle of violence that occurs. And before I tell you about the cycle, those warning signs they're really they're just kind of low key at first. It doesn't just get into your face right away. It's like there might be some jealousy that is going to show up, but so, and before I even talk about this, I'm going to say he a lot, but women can be abusive just as men can. I just want to get that out there.
Yeah.
So I'm not just talking about guys being abusive. Now, guys are usually more powerful. Right. They're stronger. They might be more physical when they're abusive, but women can be abusive just as well, and they can do all of these things. So when I'm saying he or she, I just want you to kind of know that it's interchangeable. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm guilty of that. I can already tell you that my mind's already kind of set on where most things lie, at least from my experience.
Right. So, it comes on kind of slow. There could be some jealousy. There could be some, why did you wear that tonight? Or why didn't you call me when you got home? Or, I've called you 6 times and then it turns into I've called you 18 times. Well, I've called you 30 times,
Yeah.
And, so just that obsessive calling, but it doesn't start out with obsessive calling. It just starts out with some questioning. And the other person might think, gosh, that I've never really had somebody that cared about me so much before. I've never really had somebody that loved me that much before. But then it gets more intensive jealousy. And and then, you know, trying to be very controlling, trying to control what your partner wears, trying to control what kind of, if we're talking about teens, what kind of activities they get involved in school, or what friends they talk to, or who they walk down the hall with. Trying to isolate that person. Isolation is a huge
from like outside, from other people, just in general, friends, family, everything.
Friends, family, and then as you get older, even the community that you feel comfortable in. We've had people that have contacted us that are out in the rural areas of, you know, Fountain County, that have been moved here with their husband from a different area completely across the United States, and just brought here. They don't know anyone. They don't have any phone service out there. They might not have another car. So they're very isolated out there. And it's hard for them to find those services. And so it could be, it starts out isolating from friends and family. And then sometimes it could be even isolation from everything, you know, isolation.
So even as far as moving is what you're saying. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I did not know that. That seems, man, that I mean, yeah, then you're kind of at the point of like, well, now what do I do? You know, because you're by yourself. And you know.
Right. And another red flag that I want teenagers to understand is that when a relationship comes on really strong in the beginning, so I've never been in love like this before. I don't want you to talk to other people, but even as you are maybe even getting out of high school and moving on, wanting to move in together right away, wanting to have a baby right away, wanting to get married right away, and maybe you haven't been dating for that long, that rush of a commitment is definitely a red flag. And it's something that you just need to really think about. You need to slow things down, you know, make sure you get to know this person first, because that's one of those things that is a red flag and a warning sign. Yeah,
that's interesting. I mean, like I said, with the women that I have talked to about this, which is not very many, I guess I can think of like 3 off the top of my head, but yeah, they had all, actually, now that I think about it, have said that, though, that it was very moving at first. There was just a lot
very
of
passionate,
a lot of feeling, a lot of, you know, and a lot going on, and a lot of moving parts to the relationship. And so I mean, yeah, I kind of, I guess, as I'm thinking back on that, yeah, I can see that. The one thing too that I thought was very interesting with them in particular was they were like very, very emotional women. Like they were very sensitive, and so like they kind of, you know, in like the book, the love languages, you know, for them, at least all the ones I can think of, all 3 of them, they were kind of insecure. And so,
are you talking about the I don't want to say victim and perpetrator, but are you talking about the victim in the relationship was insecure, or the
yeah, so yeah, well, for sure, two of my previous girlfriends, anyways, they were. And so that was a really big thing, like trying to build them up, and it was very important to them. And I don't know if that's because I don't know the statistics on this, and I don't know a whole lot about it, but for them, that was one thing that it seemed like a lot was coming from that they were insecure, and trying to get that other person to love them, you know, maybe the way that they felt like they wanted to be loved, or even the way that they loved them. It felt like that was a really big, you know, kind of common occurrence, I guess, in their relationship.
Well, a point that I want to make is that domestic violence can happen to anyone. It can happen across all socioeconomic lines. It can happen to male, female, any age group, any you know, professional, or maybe not educated, you're educated, different religions. It can happen anywhere. So it doesn't just happen to people who have a low self-esteem, but there is something to what you're saying too, because sometimes, and I hate to use these words like perpetrator, but sometimes the person who's abusive might seek out someone like that. You know what I mean? They might seek out someone that they feel like they can
control.
Yeah.
I could definitely see that.
Yeah.
And it breaks my heart, because those are the people that are so vulnerable to it. And so, you know, you're kind of in that repetitive cycle.
Yes, definitely. So when I want to say something about this cycle. So there's a thing that's called the cycle of violence, and there's like some different phases to it. There's 3 different phases to it. So there is starting out that honeymoon phase, which I think you kind of talked about and you didn't even realize it. Or actually that's the last phase, but the relationship does start out like that. It might start out really happy, and but then it kind of moves through those phases. But there's a tension building phase, and in that tension building phase, there's just little minor things that might happen. I thought I brought a paper on it, but I don't think I did. I wanted to show you here. I just wanted to show you this cycle, and I can even kind of leave this with you. But during this tension building phase, the victim might be walking on eggshells. The abusive person might have these minor outbursts of calling them names, maybe, or maybe there's a dirty fork in the drawer, and they might get mad about something like that, or they might get just mad about these little things like, where were you and how come you didn't come back? But there's tension in the house, and if there's kids in the house, the kids can feel the tension too, and it just kind of builds and builds. So that would be like the first phase. The second phase is the incident of violence, and that doesn't always have to be physical, but it can be. It could be pushing, hitting, shoving, strangulation, pushing someone out of a car, not letting them leave a room that they're in. But it could also be breaking their phone. That's a very, very common thing. Like intervening in not letting them make a 911 call, or it could be just a terrible lashing of just calling them names and telling them they're stupid, idiot, no one's ever going to love them, or much worse. It could be doing something to one of their animals, hurting one of their animals, or hurting one of their children, breaking something that's valuable to them. It could be a variety of things that happen in that incident. And then that is immediately followed by the honeymoon phase. And so during the incident, the abusive incident, that's when a victim is usually seeking out services. So that's when they want the violence to end.
Is this typically the first incident?
No, not typically. They don't usually call for help on the first, and some people do, but they don't usually call for help on the first incident. But they might think, say on the first incident, they might think to themselves, wow, what just happened?
Right, I'm sure,
what just happened? And they might leave, that they might walk away, they might drive away, depending on whatever the situation is. But then they're going to get this honeymoon phase where they're sorry. And I'll tell you more about the honeymoon phase in a minute.
Yeah.
But as this happens, because it does continue to happen over and over again, they're going to get to a point where they might call the police. They might call the police and say, you need to get him out of here. I can't stop him. Or they might go to their moms, and their mom is going to say, hey, you want to call the Beyond the Violence program? They can help you file for protection order. Or
what's the violence program? What is that?
The Beyond the Violence program is the one that's doing the wear your heart on your sleeve. They provide the services to victims non-residentially who don't need shelter. Got it. Okay. So we have two different programs in our community. We have us as a shelter, and then we have Beyond the Violence,
which is down on Perry Street. It's
Beyond the Violence is at Valley Oaks, across from where the Shopco used to be. That's where their office is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and our we are on Perry Street.
Right,
so
that's the one
on Perry Street. So Beyond the Violence can help people file for protection orders. They can go to court with people. They can get people a 911 emergency cell phone. Those are some of the things that we can do as well. But these are for people who don't need to go to shelter. Like maybe they already have a mom that they can stay with, or they have enough money to go to a hotel, or they've kicked him out and they just need a security system to make sure that they're going to be safe. Beyond the Violence can help.
Put cameras in your house, folks.
Yes.
I have cameras here. Yes. I'm the biggest advocate of that.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that in a minute, about why that is so important. But but during this abusive incident, that's also the time where they might come and seek out coming to shelter and staying with us, because they want the violence to end. They want to get safe. They just don't want to deal with this anymore. And so, but then the honeymoon phase comes along, and that's when is this where they woo them back? They're really, really sorry. And they really are. They're really, really sorry. Yep. I don't know why I do this when I'm around you. I've never loved anyone like you before. Oh God. I'm going to quit drinking. I've already talked to a pastor. I'm going to go to church on Sunday. I've thrown away my prescription drugs. I have a problem. I'm not going to take those anymore. I'm going to, making all these promises for change.
Cut them off.
And, sending these texts, sending flowers, just, and so the victim, depending on what stage of life that they're in, let's say they have children and it's almost Thanksgiving, well, gosh, my kids deserve to have a good holiday. He is sorry. Right. Maybe maybe I should give it another try. You know, I was being a bitch or whatever, you know. And so they start to blame themselves a little bit, and they want it. They love this person, and they want to try it. So yeah, they're going to try it again. And so then they go back, and the cycle happens again. And over time,
timeline? I mean, an average or anything?
It's different with everybody. But over time, it becomes a shorter cycle. It becomes more intense. The violence does. And on average, it takes a person about 8 times of leaving. They don't always leave during this cycle. So this cycle could happen so many times. But it takes a person about 8 times of leaving before they leave for good.
Wow.
And that's on average. So for one person, it could be 1 time and that's it.
Yeah.
One and done. Right. For the next person, it could be 35 times. There's so many reasons why people stay in those situations. And well, we can talk about that a little bit too. But the cycle of violence is very interesting, because when we have people that come in and they're seeking help, and we sit down and we show them this and we talk to them about it, they just look at us like,
this is my life. You
have been looking at my window.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, exactly. I mean, they feel so alone, and sometimes they don't even know if they're really abused. But then when they hear this, they're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's an eye opener.
Yeah. And I remember, you know, throughout the conversations, you know, they said that they felt alone, like that this was only happening to them. And it really is heartbreaking, because, you know, you want to just like grab them and be like, hey, listen to me. And I've even had friends that have went through this, you know, and seeing it from the outside in. And obviously, look, I'm not the smartest guy, but I can tell you when something isn't right, you know, and you're going through this shit and you're like, are you not, like, how are you not seeing, like, are you not paying attention? And I understand, you know, like, they kind of are like a horse with the blinders on, like, everything will be okay. I just got to work through this. It's just, you know, and it's so frustrating to sit back and see someone suffer through so much like that, you know, and it's heartbreaking, especially because it seems like it always happens to the good ones, you know, like not that anyone would be, you know, should be a subject of that, but it's like, man, the ones that are almost helpless are being pushed around and bullied. And I got 2 sisters, and, you know, and so it sets a fire under my ass every time. And it's like, all right, you know, but
it's hard to be a friend. It is hard to be a friend to a person when you know what's going on and you've tried, you know, to help this person, and you can't seem to. And that's another thing that I kind of want to get out there to your audience is, please don't give up on this person. And please don't try to force your will on them either, because it's never going to work if you do that. You have to be there for them. They have to be in charge of their own life, and they have to make these decisions on their own. But you can give them the tools, and you can give them the support to get through it. That's hard for us too, even, you know. We've had lots of people that have come in and moved in and left, and same thing happened again, and they come back, and that's just part of it. That's just part of, domestic violence is not it's a tough field to work in. It's almost kind of like addiction.
I was just getting ready to say that when I had John sitting in here from Choices Counseling. You know, one of the questions I asked him, I was like, man, it's got to piss you off when you see somebody back in here, you know, over and over and over and over and over. And like, that would, I'm sure is exactly the same thing. But I mean, it takes a special person, I'm sure, to work with the women, or, you know, the guys or whatever, but to work with those individuals that just keep going back, and to be able to understand and empathize with those people, you know.
Right. And it's important to be educated, because the more educated you are about it, the easier it is, because there are a lot of reasons why people stay in a relationship, and we advocate very, very much for letting people be in charge of their own lives. And I mean, people might stay because, you know, they've never held a job, and it's scary for them to think about raising their 4 kids on their own. And they want their kids to have a dad, maybe for religious reasons. There could be that they're embarrassed and they don't want anyone to know. They don't want their parents to know. It could be fear. Fear is a huge one, because when a victim leaves a violent relationship, they're at a 75% increased chance for fatality.
Really?
That is when a victim leaves the relationship, that is when the abuser feels out of control.
75% increase?
Yes.
Wow.
So they feel out of control, and that is that is when they might do things that they wouldn't necessarily do before. If they don't have control over the situation and that person's left and that's all they can think about is, I got to get this person back. If I can't have her, nobody can have her. That's when, these murder suicides happen, or kids get kidnapped, or, when things like that happen. And we've had that happen in our own community. And we need to be aware that is an issue for them. And we need to give them safety planning. We need to let them know, listen, if you're going to go back, let's have a plan for if this happens again. Do you have an extra phone that you can hide under your mattress? I want you to have a bag somewhere that you have money in it. You've got these birth certificates. You've got all these things so you can just pick up and go if you need to. Do you have a friend or a neighbor? If you turn your light on at a certain time and they see that, they know they need to call the police.
That's a really good idea.
There's things that we can put in place, cameras. So there's just a lot of reasons why people stay, and it's hard for us to understand because we're not living in their shoes.
Right.
But they know their abuser better than we do. And if they've been threatened something, sometimes they threaten that they're going to go hurt their family, or they're going to do something to their horse, or there's just, there's a lot to that. Yeah. And then plus there's this cycle that goes on, and there's just so many other things too, that it's not black and white.
Man, it's such a heartbreaking thing to hear, that someone would have to sleep with an extra phone hidden, or a bag of cash or whatever around it. I just wish that I could be like, look, somebody cares about you, you know what I mean? Right. But it's such a tough thing. One thing that I really wanted to have you talk about though is, what is abuse? Because a lot of people don't know. I did do a little bit of research on this last night, trying to prepare for you, of like what to talk about. But a lot of people don't know what abuse is. Like, it's not okay to yell at your partner, and especially in a condescending manner or anything. Like, that's not normal. Well, it can be normal, but it's not okay. And so having you, I think, identify some of the, not even just the warning signs, but just the actual abuse of things that aren't okay in a relationship.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, abuse can take many different forms. It can be physical. It can be emotional. It could be psychological. It could be financial. It could be sexual, and it could be through technology. And so when you think of physical, it's easy to figure out what's abusive. And when you think in physical, anything that's going to hurt you is abusive. But emotional, calling you names. But during this abusive incident, that's all.
Trying to pull up some of the comments too.
Oh, okay. So, but yeah, calling you names, putting you down, making you. I don't know if you've ever heard of gaslighting. There's an old movie called The Gaslight. Gaslighting is when you try to make somebody think they're crazy. So I didn't say that. No, that never happened. You're over exaggerating. No, you're always over exaggerating. Maybe hiding their car keys. They're trying to go to work. You hide their car keys. You can't find them. Just
people do that.
Oh gosh.
Really?
Yes. So, but just making someone feel like they're not good enough. There's so many names out there that you can think of, but yes, yelling, raising your voice, being controlling, all of those things. When we think about finances, taking the money, not letting them have control over it, the money, not letting them know what kind of money there is, because they want to have control over the relationship, and they don't want that person to have any control. And so
that they won't leave. Is that part of it?
So that they won't leave. Okay. Yeah. So they won't leave. Generally. And then technology, you probably know more about what could happen in technology than I do, but
oh yeah,
but
I've heard some crazy stories.
You can put GPS devices on someone's car. You've got all these apps. We try to tell them when they bring their phones in, there could be hidden apps on there that they don't know about. There could be spying that's going on through their phone, hacking into their social media accounts, their emails.
Like the Find My Friends app, that's going to give your location up right there.
Yes.
And, and that goes through like your whole phone. You pull that up from the messenger. And so, as far as the technology goes, oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I've heard of I don't know how much truth was behind it, but I heard of an individual that put a GPS tracker on like a car, and, and I mean, the only GPS tracker I've ever looked at was for my dog, but it wasn't crazy expensive. Like, I was like, man, if this dude gets running around town.
You have a beautiful dog. You don't want to lose that dog. So
yeah.
I understand why.
And
you
his
want
was
that.
his was like a dog collar. I don't know if maybe someone would try to make that work on a car or not, but it was like $100. And so it's not like these things are few and far between, you know, like, I mean, $100 is a lot of money, but if someone was that invested into it, I'm sure they would,
right.
You know, yeah. So it's not hard. The technology part. Yeah. I could definitely see that. That'd be probably the easiest thing to do.
It is a big thing. And you got to think about, you know, sexual too, even when people are married, you know, anytime that somebody makes you do something sexually that you don't want to do, young people, older people, that's not right. It's not okay.
Yeah.
And it's just important to know that you need to have control over your body.
Right.
And when people have been emotionally abused over the years, they just don't. That's another reason when people stay in those relationships, they feel like they deserve it. They don't feel like they could do anything without this person. They do feel worthless. And it's just, it could be really hard on somebody to, especially if you've been hearing that over, you know, for a 10-year period. And then, you know, sometimes when kids are involved and kids are seeing dad do this and the kids start treating their mom that way too. And it's not good for families. It's not good for communities.
Yeah.
And it's just important to have these services out there and this help available for people.
Yeah. And I think the emotional abuse is probably what's more common with guys, like to happen to a man, I would assume. I mean, most likely a woman's probably not going to beat on a man.
I remember a guy that I worked with, actually, it was right here in Attica. And he came to a support group. This was a long time ago. But his abusive girlfriend, when he went on vacation, broke all the windows in his house and turned his heat up and ran out all the gas, and all his pipes froze, ran all the gas out on his, you know.
What?
Yeah. I mean, so there's other different things that people can do besides,
right.
You know.
Yeah. And I think, you know, even for like a young man to be able to go to somebody and at least talk about it, you know, don't feel like you're a sissy, but you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
I'm sure that's got to be a tough thing as a guy to want to go talk to somebody. But I mean, if someone,
it is tough, but
yeah, you know, because it's, I mean, they're going to feel, you know, like, I shouldn't be talking, like, I just need to man up and deal with this, you know.
Well, and I want to get that information out there that we serve men at the shelter as well. We do house men. We've had a couple of men stay with us before. We've had men come to our support group, and we try really hard to, I mean, because at first we didn't really think about it. When we had our first man, I looked at the curtains in his bedroom and I'm like, you know, and all the toiletries that we have are,
I'm sure,
you know, but so then we thought we need to be more welcoming to men, you know, who come. And so we've made sure that we have different kinds of shampoo and deodorant, and we have things so that a man doesn't feel out of place if they come.
I'm sure that's very important. One comment on here too that I wanted to bring up is, says, took me 2 years and 3 times of going and coming back. Wasn't able until he almost killed me for me to finally leave. There's so much truth here. And it seems like that's a very common, a common scene.
It is.
And is the Chocolate Festival this year?
Yes.
Nice.
I can talk about that.
I don't know anything about it, but go on. I'm ready to hear
it. The Chocolate Festival is this year. And that is actually, like I said, we work in tandem with the Beyond the Violence program. So that is their fundraiser that they do to raise money for emergency funds for victims in our community. So what that could mean is somebody needs a damage deposit so they can get into an apartment quickly. Somebody needs a train ticket to get out of town and get to their family in Arizona. Somebody needs a security system on their house. That's what the Beyond the Violence can use their emergency money for. So the Chocolate Festival, and I actually developed the program, the Beyond the Violence program, probably, I think it's been like 12 years ago.
Nice.
And I was the director there for years. And so I started the Chocolate Festival, and now Lori Webb is the program coordinator there, and she's carried that on. But this year is going to be different because we used to have it at the Country Club. We started off having it at the Devon Theater.
Oh, okay.
And then we had it at the Country Club. And now that they've changed owners and everything, Lori had to find a new place to have it. And so she is going to have it at the Learning Center in Williamsport. It's going to be different this year.
Where's the Learning Center?
The Learning Center is like connected to the library in Williamsport.
Okay.
And they're going to utilize what's that thing? The stage that's outside. I forgot what that's called. The pavilion thing that they have outside. They're going to have a band there. They're going to have music playing. They're going to have tents outside. So it's going to be a really different kind of a vibe, but they're still going to have all the chocolate you can eat. They're going to have the chocolate fountains. They're going to have the auctions to try to raise money.
This sounds like a party I'm going to.
It is fun. It is a lot of fun. But I think that's the first weekend in October. It should be October 3rd.
Oh, it's just a little ways out. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
I want to say something about the security cameras because it just came to my mind. But you talked about how that was important. Yeah. One of the reasons that is so important, especially if people do get protection orders, when people get protection orders and the abuser violates the protection order, sometimes it's really hard to get that person arrested for that because they might not have proof. You have to have proof that a protection order is violated. So say somebody comes to your door, they even come in your house, you call 911, he's gone before the police get there. There's no proof.
Really?
So, or somebody flattens your tires outside and you know that it's him, but there's no proof.
Yeah.
So if you've got cameras on the outside of your house, even if you just have some at your door or shining out on your driveway, you're going to be able to have that proof because you can go back and have that footage that person came to your house. And it's just so nice for the officers to be able to say, gosh, do you have any proof? Right. Actually, yeah, I do, because I've got my camera footage. And so that's just a really good idea. If you are in a domestic violence situation, cameras are just, you can't beat
it. And you know what, as far as cameras alone, they're very, very important. One, for me, they're very important as a peace of mind. When I'm out of the state, like when I was in Nevada, this hadn't been that long ago, I felt like I was on my cameras all the time. I've had people, since this whole social media thing for me is kind of blown up, I've had people that have driven hours to get here and like they just want to meet me or like take a picture with me or whatever.
Cool.
And it's very cool. But also this is kind of
a whole different crowd too,
and so this is kind of like this is my sanctuary. This is me. Like when I'm out and about and when I'm eating or whatever, if someone comes up and says, "Hey, I want to take a picture," right on, let's do it. You know, I love that. I'm
come
fine
to your
with
house
that.
though, right?
Yeah. But when you come here, it's a little odd and it seems a little out of place. And then also on top of that, everything I do is kind of in the public eye now. So a lot of times for me, like if I'm out of state, people know it. And so what I typically do is whenever I'm going to leave, if I'm going to be gone, you know, for a week at a time or whatever, I'll tell the police, "Hey, watch the house." But even that, it's not like having the cameras at the house. And a lot of people think that having cameras put in your house is super expensive. It's very difficult to do. It's not the case. There's like Arlo makes a camera. They take like AAA batteries and they're magnetic, and you put the thing on there and you just forget it. And it's good.
So much easier than it used to be back in the day.
Yeah. Like the cameras that I have, they are actual wired cameras, and you know, I've got quite a few of them, but all the cables ran through the attic and all that. But even that, it's not impossible, and they're not that expensive. They make wireless cameras now, and it's nice because if you're gone, you can get on your phone. Like most of them now have apps. You can pull it up anywhere at any time. And just like you said, if something happens, someone steals something, someone busts the shit out of your car or, you know, whatever, and you need to figure out who did it. Maybe even if you do have a protection order against someone and maybe you're still not even sure it's them, it'll at least give you that peace of mind of like, okay, well now I've caught you. And I've used mine before. I've had people that have tried to get in here and I've been able to, you know, like I know who it is.
Right.
And I never went to the cops, you know, I was like, whatever. The person actually, the one time that it happened was out of state. So it was like, whatever. But it was like, I got you. You know,
right.
It's very important.
At the shelter, we have cameras. I'm trying to think of how many cameras we have. We have a lot. I don't know if we have 20, but we have cameras all around the perimeter of the house, at every door, and you know, in the backyard and in the alley, or by the church. And then we have cameras inside the house, all over inside the house, not in the bedrooms or the bathrooms,
right?
But everywhere else in the house.
Yeah,
we have cameras. And so we have, you know, we're staffed 24 hours a day, but you know, our third shift advocates, they've got the camera screen right there, and they can see if there's anybody anywhere in the house that, you know, people forget that supposed to be there. Yeah, people forget to put cameras inside their house. Like it seems like almost 90% of the people that put cameras up only focus on the outside. I only have, technically I guess I have 2 in the house, but one is in the living room, and it like gets all the windows and the entrance to the front door of the house. You're already there.
You know what I mean? If you're springing for
Yes.
the cameras, don't forget to put them inside. It's very important. And as far as the quality goes, typically your cameras that you're going to put indoors, they're going to be a little bit better anyways, because if it's raining or something like that, or if it's nighttime, most cameras now go off infrared, so they shine out this infrared beam, and then that's
Right.
actually how it picks up the any kind of movement, which is most cameras now record on movement only, save space on the hard drive. But when you have a camera inside, typically your lighting's better, the environment's better. If it's foggy, if it's rainy or whatever, any kind of moisture on the lens, anything like that, cameras are very important.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
but what else do you have? Is there anything else that I missed? I'm just
Well,
scrolling through these comments here. Sorry.
You can.
Wendy says 16.
There's what?
Wendy says 16 cameras.
Oh, 16. Okay, there we go.
Let's see. Here we go. Here's a comment that I didn't see. How many people can the shelter house at one time? And are there, and on average, how long do people typically stay?
Okay. So, yeah, I'd love to tell you about the shelter. I'll answer those questions first. So we have 4 bedrooms upstairs and we have 14 beds. So we're a small rural community. We're a small rural shelter. Yeah. We're not a large shelter, but we are full all the time. And sometimes we have 18 people. We just had someone sleeping in our toy room. We pulled out a rollaway bed for her last week. So we do take people even when we're full, but we really try to find them another place to go and transport them to that place and try to make it as easy as possible for them. I mean, we've had to take people 2 to 3 hours away before because we have a hard time finding shelters that have availability. A lot of the shelters are full most of the time for domestic violence shelters. Man, so sad. But people can stay. We're different than most shelters across the state. Most shelters are 30 to 45 days, although some of them are moving away from that a little bit because
is that a limit?
They're considered an emergency shelter, and it's just a time to keep you safe and get you somewhere else.
Gotcha.
But for us, we wanted to mold our program to fit our community and resources, especially when we started the shelter. Resources are limited here. Housing is very limited here. Right. Childcare is very limited here. Yeah. We have no public transportation here. So to think that we're going to get someone in, and in 30 to 45 days, they're number one, going to be sure that they want to leave this person because that's not going to happen that quickly.
Right.
Number two, they're going to have a job to make enough money to pay their deposits and to get an apartment. Number three, to find an apartment, to find childcare. It's just not going to happen.
That's a lot to do.
It's a lot to do. And we wanted to have a realistic option for our people in our community. We want to really help people to feel safe, to be in a space where they can breathe for a little bit. We have a therapist on staff that can, sit down and do therapy with them. And we want to give them time to figure out what they want to do and be able to actually do it. And so they can stay for one night if they need to. They can stay for up to 2 years.
Really?
So we're a longer term shelter. People don't normally stay 2 years. On average, I would say people stay about 8 to 9 months. But we have people that stay over a year. We've had 1 or 2 that have stayed for 2 years. But generally, nobody wants to live in a shelter for that long.
Sure, yeah.
But
right.
We try to make it as as comfortable as possible. But we have case managers that can come alongside of them and help them work on their goals. We have a therapist on staff, and we really try to. If they want to go back to school, then we want to help them to be able to do that. If, maybe they just need a GED, maybe they don't have a car and they need to have a job first and save money to get a car so that they can provide transportation. Everybody comes in with different goals and with different things they have to do to be self-sufficient and independent. And we just want to make sure that they can get there. So they do have plenty of time to do that.
And it seems like building, when someone sets a goal and achieves it and does that over and over and over, at least in my life, it does build self-confidence, self-esteem.
Yeah.
And, and it builds you up to feel better about yourself. And I'm sure that that's a very important thing at that time for them.
Right.
So yeah.
Definitely. Do you want to hear, I don't know what time it is.
You're good.
No, are we good?
You take all the time you need.
Do you want to hear like how Hub Spring started and how we got to
like the history behind it?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I would love to. Yeah. Because I think when I was younger, I don't think it was Hope Springs.
No, we became a 501c3 in 2015.
Oh, okay.
So it's been 5 years.
Yeah.
but it actually started a little bit before that. But I just want to kind of go back and just tell you a little story. So I was a youth leader, Sunday school teacher at my church, you know, for years. And I also have worked in domestic violence since 1989. It's been a long time. I'm pretty old.
Oh, yeah, right.
And like I said, about 12 years ago, I started the Beyond the Violence program through Valley Oaks, and I was working there. But even before that, when I used to work at the Family Crisis Shelter in Crawfordsville. I was a Sunday school teacher, and there was this young boy in my class, and his name was Zach Cooper. Do you know him?
Zach Cooper. Put me on the spot. Probably would if I seen him.
Okay. So his name was Zach Cooper, and he was, I think the first time he mentioned it to me, he was like, I don't know, like 11 years old. And he knew I worked in domestic violence, and he said, why don't we have a shelter in our community, you know? And I said, well, I don't know, Zach, it takes a lot of time and a lot of money, and, you know, just takes somebody, a whole, you know, community to be able to get a shelter. It's just not an easy thing. Well, he would talk about it for years. I mean, for years. And he ended up going to Pensacola to college, and then he went to Liberty University. And but when he would come back, he would talk about it a lot. He'd say, and he would say, God's told me we're going to have a shelter. You know, he would say this. And we are a faith-based facility. I don't know if I mentioned that or not, but we are. And so when he came back from college, I was working at Valley Oaks, and he would just call me and say, hey, I got a house we need to go look at. I think this is going to be our shelter. We looked at a couple of houses in Williamsport. We looked at about maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 houses here in Attica. And he'd always get excited. I think this could work. I'm gonna call the bank and see if they'll donate it to us for $1. Or I'm gonna call the people, and maybe they've got a heart for this. You know, I think this is gonna work. You know, it never worked, but it was just kind of fun. Yeah, and it was kind of fun, and we'd go look at it. You know, we looked at the one that just got turned into the bed and breakfast. That was one of the houses we looked at. Got it. Awesome that has turned into such a beautiful place. Have you seen it lately? I saw the pictures. I haven't been in there, but but when we looked at it, it sure didn't look like that. Right. So, yeah. No, it looks great now. Yeah. Yeah. Shout out to them. But then one day he called me and he said, well, he started a church. It was called Journey Church, and they were meeting at the Devon. And he called me and he said, hey, I had a church, Southern Baptist, some kind of, I can't, Wabash Valley Southern Baptist organization contacted me, said they knew I had a church that was meeting at the Devon, knew I needed a building, and wanted to know if I wanted this building on the corner where we are. We're on the corner of Monroe and Perry in Attica. And he said, I'm going to start my church in that building, and there's a house that goes with it, and I don't need it. That's going to be our shelter. And I said, really? Okay, well, good. And so he started it in 2012. He started that shelter as a ministry of his church. And it was a small church, and his church pretty much supported it. He got a little bit of extra support from the community, but not a lot. And it was pretty stressful. It was hard to pay the bills. Yeah. There was no staff. And I was working for the Beyond the Violence program, so he asked me if I would come in and do case management and group and stuff with the residents, and I did. I did that while they lived there, but he pretty much ran it just from living. He lived 2 houses down, and it was like that for a couple of years. And then his wife, Amy Cooper, she got a job in South Carolina, and they had to move. They had to move their family. And so he had closed down his church, and he came and talked to me. He said, we are going to move. And he said, we've got this shelter. And he said, I'm not really quite sure what to do. He says, God tells me we need to keep it here. He's like, but I don't know. And he just handed me the keys. So really? Yeah. And he's like, if you need to shut the doors, shut the doors. If you think you can keep it open, keep it open. And so I was like, okay. And Valley Oaks didn't really want me to be, because I was the director of their domestic violence program there. They kind of didn't want their name on it, because it was kind of a broken down house. Kind of needed a lot of work. Right. Neighbors weren't happy. There was just, some stuff there, and they were like, I don't know how much we really want you to be involved in this. And really? Yeah, but they did let me, because they want to support the community. They offer such wonderful services to our community. And so they said, why don't you get a committee together? And so that's what I did. I got a committee together. We called ourselves the Friends of the Safe House, and we started talking about it. And we looked at the statistics that there was a community health needs assessment that was done through the hospital and through the Fountain and Warren County Health Department that showed that 28% of families in Warren and Fountain County were directly affected by domestic violence in their home.
Wow.
So that's over 1 in 4. And plus through the Beyond the Violence program at Valley Oaks, we were serving 120 victims a year. And we knew that it was needed. We just couldn't, we had to figure out how we were going to keep it open.
Yeah.
So I decided that I needed to quit my job. And so I quit my job and I got a different job working for the Indian adoption program.
Boy, even that had to be tough for you.
What was that?
That had to have been tough.
It was really tough, but Valley Oaks was great. But I just couldn't intermingle the two, you know.
Right,
I just couldn't. I had to decide what I wanted to do. So, so I started working with this committee and was working a different job. And Valley Oaks is going great now with Beyond the Violence. They're still providing all the services that they did when I was there, and it's wonderful. But we started meeting, and it was falling apart. I mean, we had everything was $2,000. We had a $2,000 water bill. No, we had a $2,000 gas bill, and the gas was about to be shut off first. Then we had a $2,000 electric bill, and the electric's about to be shut off.
Oh.
And then we had a, I think it was like a $2,500 or a $2,800 water bill. And then plus there was a water leak under the house that cost like $800 to fix. Every time that we sat down, we met weekly. Every time that we sat down to meet,
$2,000.
I would throw another bill in the middle of the table. And we would just pray. We would just pray about it. And people started sending money. And we started throwing money in the middle of the table. And these bills were getting paid. And so we thought, we know we want this to be here. We talked to Dan Askren. He was an attorney here in town at the time. And he filed our 501c3 for us before he became prosecutor. And he did that as just a service to us. And
he's a good guy.
Yeah. And so after we got all those bills paid, we found out we had bed bugs, which was almost $3,000. I mean, it was just like one thing after another. We're like, oh gosh, I don't know. But I tell you, we muddled through, we got through, we became a 501c3. And when that happened, I was able to start writing grants. And there's so many more people that were supportive through the whole process. The Western Indiana Community Foundation was a pass-through for us, so people could give to them and then they would give to us so that they could still take it off their taxes, like before we were a 501c3.
Yeah.
But so there were so many people that came along and helped us. But once we started getting grants, we started hiring people. Megan, she's our house manager right now. We paid her a stipend at the very beginning, and she worked like 15 hours a week. That was the only staff person we had. And I think she made $500 a month. I mean, it was like nothing, you know. But once we got grants, we started hiring people, but we couldn't find a director. And so I quit my other job, my Indian adoption job, and I decided to take the director job because we just couldn't find a director. But so that's kind of how we started. Now we have 11 staff. We're peer reviewed and certified. You know, we're peer reviewed and certified through the Indiana Criminal Justice Institute and the Indiana Coalition Against Domestic Violence.
Good for you.
And the community has wholeheartedly, I cannot say enough about this community. I mean, there's not a day that goes by that somebody doesn't come to the door. Every single day, somebody's bringing something. They're bringing money. They're bringing paper towels, toilet paper, you know, cleaning supplies, laundry detergent.
Yeah.
They're coming to volunteer. We could not do what we do without the community. It's been wonderful.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. And it's awesome to see you really chase that dream down and make it happen. A lot of people fall out on that.
And I'm so thankful to Zach for his dream. I mean, he's the one who had the original dream, you know, and yeah.
But not to give up on it, you know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Looks like Megan's here. She says, we are able to house 13 people at one time. We currently have 14 people here when all the kids are here for visits. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you guys really do the community a huge service. And it's for a lot of people that really need it, you know, and unfortunately, a lot of times I'm sure don't have anywhere else to go.
Right.
And
we are serving our community's most vulnerable people, you know, the people that they don't have money for a hotel, or they don't have a mom they can go stay with, or they don't have a grandma, or they don't have their own place and they can just kick him out. Yeah. So we are, and we're also serving, you know, a lot of times we do see a lot of addiction, a lot of mental health.
I'm sure.
And so we we try to make sure that we've got those services in place that we can really help them to overcome that. And
I mean, I'm sure you guys run in parallel with anxiety and depression. Like I couldn't imagine, you know, being under that kind of circumstance of moving away from, you know, your comfort zone and the maybe the only person you have that you feel like that you love and all these things, and now you're in this foreign environment. I mean, I'm sure it's got to be such a huge adjustment. Yeah, you'd have to be fully prepared.
Yeah. Can I tell you some statistics from last year?
Absolutely, would love to hear them.
So last year we had 4,431 safe bed nights that we offered to 36 adults and 28 children. We served 13,728 meals at the shelter.
Wow.
We also have given out a lot of food boxes. We continue to service people even after they've moved out. So if they've moved out and they don't have a washer and dryer, they can come and do their laundry. They can come and ask for a food box. They can come and just hang out if they're lonely. They can come to group.
How cool.
So we try to do a lot of that.
Yeah.
We had 48 adult support groups and 53 child support groups. There was 119 adult therapy services, 36 Bible studies. We provided 1,482 transportation trips. We do not have public transportation here. People need to get to their doctor's appointments. They need to go to court. They need to go, maybe they need to go talk to the prosecutor if there's an open case going on. Maybe they need to just go apply for TANF or WIC or food stamps. They need to get to work. And so we have a van and we try to provide transportation as much as we can. We can't always do that, but last year we provided 1,482 trips of transportation. So
wow,
we try to do the best we can. We made 427 referrals. We're staffed 24 hours a day. We have a hotline that comes in. We took 112 hotline calls. 70% of our residents last year found suitable housing. 85% found employment. 37% participated in college or GED classes. And then we also give out periodic surveys, and we ask residents, you know, do you feel safer? Have you learned anything? What can we do different? Would you suggest a friend to come here?
Right.
Because we want to always improve our services.
Yeah.
But 100% of the residents said they reported feeling safer. 100% of the residents reported increased knowledge about domestic violence, and 100% of our residents reported satisfaction with services that they received. So
that's great. And it does kind of lead me into one thing too, is how do people get a hold of you?
Okay, so that can happen so many different ways.
Sure.
We have a sign out in the front yard, which I don't know if you want me to talk about that or not, but our phone number's on there.
Yeah. Talk about
a lot of
anything you
times
want.
people don't have signs, you know, with shelters, but I'll explain that in a second. But our phone number's on there. The police have our information. They make referrals. The hospital can make referrals. Churches make referrals. Social service agencies make referrals.
I mean, what about somebody that just happens to be watching this thinking I need to call and
I'll give you my phone number right now.
Yeah.
You can call the office at 765-764-5212.
So you got, okay, I wasn't sure if you guys had
we also have a website, and you can email us on our website. It's hopespringsafehouse.com. And we also have a Facebook page. Lots of times people will message us through our Facebook
Messenger. Yeah, I'm sure that's a great way. Yeah.
So we have people that contact us that way. So there's a lot of different ways that people can get a hold of us.
Yeah, that's good. And it's because I wondered about that. Like, I don't know, you know, as of right now, I don't know if anyone's seen this or not, but that has maybe been in that predicament. But at least if you are listening to this and you feel like you need to get help or maybe even just learn or try to figure out what's going on in your relationship, yeah, it sounds like, you know, there are definitely plenty of options for you to call, to message, you know. Yeah, it sounds like you've really listed that off. One person did, Natasha asked on here, what can we do as a community member to help? Is there anything that you guys need? Are there people that...
Yeah, there are so many different ways you can help. I'm going to say number one, because we are a faith-based facility, you can pray for us. Yeah, we can never get enough prayer. Number two, you can give us money. You can make a financial donation.
Yeah.
You can send those to Hope Springs at P.O. Box 244, Attica, Indiana.
Okay.
You can bring donations. We are always in need of household items, like I just mentioned, paper towels, toilet paper, cleaning supplies, toiletries. One of the big things that we are in need of right now is we're wanting to we always want to do a lot of things with our kids. And so we need some craft supplies for our kids. And so we're kind of on the lookout for craft supplies right now. You can volunteer. We hold volunteer trainings every quarter. And so those trainings take about 6 hours to get through actually it's more than that, but we start out with an initial 6 hours of training for volunteers. And then there's usually about 2 to 4 hours that come after that. But our volunteers do all kinds of things. They can help us with transportation. They can come in and do an activity with the kids, or just read to them, or help them with homework. They can come in and mentor our residents, but they can also come in and cook a meal if they want to, or they can help us with projects, with fundraisers. Do I have time to tell you about 2 fundraisers real quick? So volunteering is another thing. And then was there another thing? Let's see. I think that's mainly it. Prayers, volunteering, and donations are ways that people can help. And like I said, this community has come alongside of us and given us a lot of support, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I want to tell you about 3 fundraisers real quick. I feel like I'm going over my time, so I'm going to
there is no time.
I'm going to tell you real quick.
We'll knock this thing out all day. I told you were worried about catching that.
I was.
I told you.
So we have 3 fundraisers throughout the year. We do the Freedom Run, which usually happens the weekend before the 4th of July here in Attica.
I've heard about that.
Yeah, what is that? It's we start out at the Attica High School. We do the same. Is it the turkey trot? We do the same one as the turkey trot, I believe.
Okay.
And so that is a lot of fun because people can dress up 4th of July, red, white, and blue. We usually have hats, sunglasses, leis people can put on. Some people wear tutus, and it's just kind of fun to see people come dressed up. And then we do that too for freedom of our country and freedom from domestic violence.
Oh,
and
cool. Cool
and the money that's raised, it goes into our general fund to help pay for extra things that we need. Another one of our fundraisers is our Christmas bingo that we do in December. And the money that we raise at our Christmas bingo goes to helping to get Christmas for our residents. We take half of the money. This is a collaboration with Mary Kay, with our Mary Kay rep that's here in Attica, Mary Schmid. Half of the money goes to buying Christmas for our residents. We bought Christmas for 18 people last year and had Santa Claus come. And then the other half of it goes to Heather Smith's kids. It goes into a foundation fund, a fund for them. Yeah. And they can use it for Christmas, or they can just save it and put it away. And we're going to continue to do that for years to come. Yeah. And then our biggest fundraiser is the apple pies. And that is where we make apple pies. And last year we raised over $26,000 doing that. And we do it in 2 days at the Attica High School. Wow. We have 250 volunteers from this community and the surrounding communities that come in. And we have an assembly line. We have Coughing Brothers apples. We peel, slice, core those apples. We mix them with cinnamon and sugar. We put them in the pie shell. We put a crumb topping on the top. We bag them. Roll them out. We double bag them. We box them. And then we get a freezer truck donated from Wabash National, big semi shelves in there. And we put all those pies in there. We freeze them for 2 days. And then on the 3rd day, we have a drive-through. People can just drive through from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And we just put their pies in their car. They don't even have to get out. And they have their pies for Thanksgiving and Christmas. And it's just it's a wonderful fundraiser. That is awesome. It's a great way to get the community involved too. Absolutely. It's really fun. Yeah. And that's one thing I've really been focusing on lately, is kind of trying to figure out ways just to pull at all directions to get the community together. It sounds like you guys are on it. I think it's. Lexi says, "Oh, good. I love buying craft supplies." Yay, Lexi. Thank you. I hope you recover from your surgery. Oh, she didn't know they were Coughing Bros apples. She's going to be in, I'm signing her up for a couple of pies right now. All right. That's great. Sorry to put you up there like that, Lexi. Oh, man. All right. Let's see. I want to make sure I don't miss any comments, just in case there's anyone, that might need anything. But I think I've actually got all of the comments kind of at least brought up to you. And then is there anything that you wanted to, is there anything that I missed, anything else that you can think of maybe that you want to mention before we wrap everything up? I just want to make sure I do you guys a good service here. Well, I think we're good. I mean, I don't know what more people want to hear. I could probably talk for another hour. Yeah. But I think we're good. If anybody has any questions, they can contact us, like I said, through Facebook Messenger or on our website, or they could call us, and
yeah,
we're more than happy to answer any questions for anybody.
Yeah, that's great. Well, before we wrap this up, if you guys can share this video, share in the Facebook podcast part of things. It really helps get the word out there, and it will help. Most of the people that are on Facebook that are watching this right now are actually local anyways, so it really helps the community as you guys share these. So if you can, just share it, and even start like a watch party or something like that. It really does. It'll boost the numbers like crazy, and you will see. I mean, you'll see other people in the community that will watch it.
Do you mind if can I just, before we're done, can I just share a Bible verse that kind of
absolutely, yeah,
has been the inspiration to me?
Yep.
Okay. So it's 1 Peter 4:7 through 11, 8 through 11. It says, above all, and when it says above all in the Bible, I feel like that it's something that God wants us to pay attention to, because it's above all.
Okay.
It's above all, above everything. Love each other deeply, because love covers a multitude of sins. Offer hospitality to one another without grumbling. Each of you should use whatever gift that you have received to serve others, as faithful stewards of God's grace in various forms. If anyone speaks, they should do so as one who speaks the very words of God. If anyone serves, they should do so with the strength that God provides, so that in all things God will be praised through Jesus Christ. To him be the glory and the power forever and ever. Amen. And I love that, because it's not always easy, the work that we do. And I like to look at this because I want to make sure that we're offering love without grumbling.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
And we just want to love people like Jesus, and that's what we're there for. So
well, that's great. It's
thankful for the opportunity that God's given us to do this.
That's great to hear, and I'm thankful to have you guys come on too, because this is it is something that I really do care about. I care about this community immensely, and so if there's any way that I can give back, I really try to. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to message their Facebook page. You can message me, and maybe I can point you guys in the direction of their Facebook page. Like I say, share this, and if you guys are listening, it will be on YouTube and on all listening platforms. Hopefully tonight. It always takes me a couple hours to wrap that thing up, but I will try to have it up tonight. And I always say that, and then it's like 3 days later, and everyone's always yelling at me like, "Come on, I want to listen to it on Spotify." But and before we do go, I'd like to thank the sponsors. So there's Warren County Creations. They make cool things like that gator head over there, deer heads, anything that's considered metal art. They're on it, and I'm very thankful for you guys' help, as well as Poston Farms. Dolly is a saint. I love that woman with all my heart. Dolly, thank you for all your support. You have been great. Rex over at Delta Welding, he really helped make things happen this month, and lastly Logan Leaf. So they are a small company out of Logan, Utah, and you can, if you are looking for any CBD products, they do have what I have found to be the best, and they really hooked me up with and you guys as well, with a promo code. You can go to loganleaf.com and you can use the promo code Brandon, and it will get you 15% off, I believe. The percent's actually going to change, it sounds like, here soon, and I'm hoping that it goes up for you guys. But yeah, so is there anything else before we wrap this thing up?
I just want to thank you, Brandon, for having me come, and I hope that this information can help someone.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming. It's certainly my pleasure. And like I say, if anyone that's listening, call them, message me, any way that I or she can help. I'm sure she would be more than willing to, and I certainly am. And I thank all you guys that have been listening and supporting me and all my wild dreams over the last few months. Life is crazy right now, and I couldn't do it without you guys. So thank you, and thank you for coming as well. All right. And I will see y'all real soon. Oh no.